And is it to show that two wrongs would make one right? Thank you.
Senator Lelegwe.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My clarification is to the witness of the National Assembly. Yesterday, during the cross-examination, the advocate of the Deputy President, you asserted that you have identified several companies which you have no issues and to which you do not attribute any misconduct in their dealings. Given this context, could you inform the necessity for including these companies in the present impeachment motion? Thank you.
Senator Eddy.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. I have one question for the witness-in-chief and one clarity question from the counsel for the Deputy President, and particularly Counsel Tom Macharia. So I'll start with the Honorable Mutuse. Honorable Mutuse, may you help this House understand whether all the companies that you indicated are for the sons and the spouse of the Deputy President, and whether you established how old they are and estimated the net worth of those companies. Did you manage to estimate the net worth of those companies, and how did you do that? To the senior counsel, the counsel Tom Macharia, in the exploration of ground number 4, you led this House to look at the particulars of the coalition document, and the coalition agreement. May you help us understand how we should interpret Article 91 of the Constitution and Article 232 of the Constitution with regards to your response on government being a company equal to having shares and not the country. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Sek.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. The question also goes to Honorable Mutuse. Wanted to make a clarification on the issue of Peterson Jomo, the affidavit on the Olive Garden Hotel, on the appointment of Julian Jahenda as the secretary or agent, and the letter to the Public Service Commission through the clerk of the National Assembly by volume 8A, page 1, gives a different person by the name Maka Juliana Jahenda. Why do we have different names here? You need to clarify, because it has a different person altogether. Two different people altogether. Second clarification is on the issue of the award of the tender on the proposed refurbishment of the DP's residence in Karen. Honorable Mutuse, the government, through the State House Controller, signed that contract. Wanted to know what is the relationship of this contract with the DP, now that you're saying it has some issues. What's all about the contract and the company that did that refurbishment? We need to know what is the relationship and what is the malpractice that has.
Senator Amida Kibwana.
Mr. Speaker, sorry, my question was for Dr. Mulwa.
Senator Wakili Sige.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I've got two questions. One to the Council for the Deputy President, and the other one, actually both for clarification by the Council for the Deputy President. Yesterday, in the course of your cross-examination, you took us to page 410 of Volume 3. This is with regard to the accusation where His Excellency the Deputy President divulged or accused the national intelligence of what you said. Now, my clarification from you, which I desire, is at that page 410, the evidence which you sought to juxtapose what the President did and what the Deputy President was accused of having done is with regards to one being in office and another one alleging that he's not been able to attend sessions where that complaint came from. Give us the correlation of the two. And secondly, I share the sentiments by all the senators who've sought to get from you an understanding about the coalition agreements. You attempted to explain yesterday the relationship between company shares and coalition agreement shares. You were asked about the place of this in terms of the regimes of the two kinds of agreements. What do you say as regards shares in a company registered under the Companies Act vis-a-vis post-election coalition agreements registered under the Political Parties Act and the governance of?
Senator Batuli Beti Montet.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, sir, I want to ask Honorable Mutuse, is there a minimum age of a client in a bank to get a loan of 700 million?
Senator Essie Okenyuri.
Sorry, Mr. Speaker, my question, I'm awaiting Dr. Andrew Mulwa.
Senator Cheriot Aaron.
Mike, two quick questions to you, Mutuse. Is there any crime that a Kenyan will have committed if they have 20, 30, or even 40 companies? Because I see you have listed 22 companies here. Is there any crime by just owning these companies you feel that the person you accuse has committed? Second, on this issue of Vipingo Beach, surely, Honorable Mutuse, what is the crime of the sons of the Deputy President being listed as directors? Because I have tried combing through your motion to establish what you consider to be either an illegality or a crime on their part by simply being listed as directors. Lastly, Mr. Speaker, is to the Council for the DP, Wakili Masharia. The clips of the then DP Ruto played by your team, could we read it to mean that it's an admission on your part that you're saying, if it was done then by a sitting Deputy President, please allow the current one to commit the same at this point? And lastly, the 30% allocation to Ford Kenya in the coalition agreement in ANC, how has it been realized?
Senator Margaret Kamar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me the opportunity. I have one small question for Honorable Mutuse, and that is on the witness somebody who, by the name Peterson Jomo Mushira, who wrote an affidavit that touches on Olive Garden Hotel. He offered himself to appear and be cross-examined on the content of his affidavit. Was he invited?
Senator Kathuri Murungi.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Mine are just very strict clarifications. Number one goes to Honorable Mutuse. Honorable Mutuse, in ground 7, you have seen that His Excellency, the Deputy President, has inexplicably amassed a humongous, these are very strong ones, property portfolio, estimated at 5.2 billion. So my question is, this is within 2 years. I know for a fact that before an election, any eligible candidate clears himself or herself with the IBC before contesting. Therefore, for comparative analysis, do you have His Excellency the Deputy President's property or worth during the 2022, before the 2022 elections, so that now we can be able, as a jury, can be able to compare and see whether for 2 years, for sure, he has been able to amass this wealth. Number two, there is this property in Meru. Many Meru guys have called me last night asking me whether there is evidence to show that this land is in Meru. The last one is to the councils of the Deputy President. There was a clip which was played here yesterday when the Deputy President made a press conference in Mombasa, immediately after the President did this in Nairobi, 2 different cities. Therefore, I did not get clarity from the councils about this, the question or the clip. So I was really requesting either one of them could be able to expound on that controversy between the 2 pressers in 2 different cities by the principal and the deputy principal of the Republic of Kenya. Thank you.
Senator Okoit Omtata.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I have a question for the Honorable Mutuse. To whom does this motion belong? Because in most of your answers, you keep on saying we.
I think, Honorable Senator Omtata, that question was asked by the Honorable Enoch Wambua, Senator, and it was responded to. So just ask for a different clarification.
Okay, and other than that, I wanted to ask whether Honorable Mutuse knows the difference between an impeachment motion and a censure motion. And if he does, where does he place his motion? Is it a censure motion or is it an impeachment motion? And what are the thresholds for each of those 2 motions, if you understand the difference? Thank you.
Senator Chute.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika. Mheshimiwa Mutuse, ulileta ushahidi hapa mbele ya Senate ukidai ya kuwa Deputy President ako na 5.2 billion. Wewe ni wakili. Na vile unaongea jana unaonekana wakili shupavu. Ulileta ushahidi gani hapa ya kuonyesha valuation ya hii property ya hiyo katika documents yako kuonyesha imefika 5.2 billion. Swali ya pili, ulileta mashtaka 11. Vile unasimama huko leo, unaona aibu kidogo kwamba ulilete porojo mingi na mambo mingi kama ukiwa wakili hujafikiria vizuri. Sababu watu wa Marsabit wananiuliza, hiyo mtu kweli ni wakili ama ni mtu amekombolewa kutoka huko? Hebu jibu hiyo swali tafadhali.
Senator Beth Siango. Now, honorable senators, we are going to conduct ourselves in decorum. We are not in any way going to demean the witnesses. Ask your question, but stick to the rules of this House. Senator Beth Siango.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this chance. I have two questions. One for Honorable Mutuse. In your presentation, I heard that you touched on the inheritance and property of the late Nderitu Gachagua. Have you reached out to the widow and the children of the late Gachagua to also give you facts? The next question is to the Council for the DP. Yesterday you played a clip of the president speaking in Muranga. What was the purpose of playing that clip? And how does it relate to the saying popularly now used by Kenyans, kufa dereva, kufa makanga? Thank you.
Senator Chimera.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question goes to the Council for the DP. I would wish to seek clarity on the documents that they tabled yesterday, being the coalition agreement, which basically informed the basis as to which the DP has been talking about shares. I just want to know whether there is any document that secures shares in respect of the region where the DP comes from. And secondly, Mr. Speaker, if the Council is aware that his client, at the time those documents were being prepared, he was a candidate for office, and now he successfully became DP, and that he needs to promote national unity, and if it is still in order for him to continue championing for the interest of one region as against the entire nation. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Richard Onyonk.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My questions are two, and I would like to ask Honorable Mutuse. I hold you highly. I don't think that you're as idiotic as our colleagues will say. I want to ask you, between the time when the Deputy President was a Member of Parliament and the time when he became the Deputy President, were you able to see whether there was a deliberate variation in the amounts of money that he was handling? Did you see whether the money that he was handling as a Member of Parliament, for example, changed then to the money that you brought in, where you're saying that there is some money laundering taking place? Were you able, or are you able to show that distinction in order for you to make your case? The second question I wanted to ask you again on the same issue. When you are trying to find out whether there is money laundering on any transaction, and I know chances are you did not have the technical expertise and maybe an investigative agency to help you, but did you by any chance find out money moving from anywhere, either through His Excellency the Deputy President's private accounts or any money that was being borrowed? Because I know that one property you've mentioned that it was a loan, but all these other properties that you allege that the Deputy President had purchased, did you link that from money coming from some place or money coming from some illicit, like you say? Because I don't see that evidence on the table. And finally, I want to ask you again, Mr. Speaker, that if you look at the issue of the will of Mr. Gachagua, that is the former governor, did you by any chance get a way to ask either through the wife, the children, whether there was a meeting that took place where they were involved, or whether they were unhappy or happy with the transactions which were taking place? Because there isn't any evidence whatsoever of, for example, the wife complaining or the children complaining. Did you get anything like that which is substantive? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Mutinda Tabit.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My two questions goes to you, Honorable Mutuse. First, in regards to this company by the name Crystal Kenya Limited, Ground 7, date of incorporation is 2009. And the CR12 that you have submitted to this House is for this year. Would you tell this House who was the initial director of this company? If that was so, was there any change of directorship of this company? Secondly, the one on trial is the deputy president of this country and not his two sons. You have linked Crystal to be a proxy for the deputy president through his two sons. Would you tell this House if you have any evidence that shows that money was wired from Crystal Limited to the account or to any company linked to the deputy president?
Senator Shakil Abdallah.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question is to Honorable Mutuse. If Judge Maina had filed any complaints regarding the being harassed by the deputy president. Thank you.
Senator Miraj Abdullah.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question goes to Mr. Mutuse. Is it your opinion that the DP was talking about enforcing the Kenya Kwanza coalition agreement when he was speaking about the shareholding issue? And the second one goes to the DP side, that we were reminded here of the oath we took when we assumed this institution. Is it in your place to say that your client has breached his own oath even before we make a conclusion? Because we were made to read the third schedule here on justice and directly and indirectly revealing such matters, and the oath of secrecy that His Excellency the Deputy President took. In his utterances, he used to speak about not the Mlima being touched. So in the essence of national unity, don't you think that your client, the DP, or you clarify for us that he has already breached his own oath even before we make a decision as the jury of this House? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Kisang.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. My first question goes to Mutuse and a comment. Honorable Speaker, I want to find out from Mheshimiwa, out of the 22 companies that you've alleged associated with the Deputy President, how many are really of interest to this particular impeachment? Yesterday you talked about the one in Rea Vivingo, and we saw that 10,000 of the shares, the total shares, are owned by the estate of the late Governor Kachagwa. And then a comment, Honorable Speaker, is the clips that were played yesterday on shareholding. I think I want to ask the legal counsel for the Deputy President. It looks like we didn't stop campaigns after election. It looked like we continued to propagate campaigns because we expected the Deputy President, immediately after campaigns, we stop about this thing of shareholding because...
Senator Maanzo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this would have gone to Governor Orengo, but since he said the clients, the National Assembly had given him instructions, I would like them to tell me what is the relevance of the verse they read yesterday. And also, on the floor of the National Assembly, they read a verse that when bad leaders rule, badness increases in a country. And when good leaders rule, goodness increases in a country. Finally, what is the maximum number of companies can an individual participate in under the law? I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Mutuse, you may now proceed to respond. You have exactly 10 minutes to do that.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and honorable senators, for this opportunity. I have, from the questions that have come across, there are many that relate to the companies, and with your indulgence, allow me to start from there. Senator Cheriot, Senator from Marakwet, and several senators have asked why